Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, spicy with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we are so back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 200. Episode 200. What a monumental achievement this is. 200 freaking episodes. Wow. We've been at this 2 years, July 1st. So in just about 9 days, just about a week, we'll officially be at 2 years of the Surprise Jab Podcast. Now, I actually did record episode 200 yesterday, and then I accidentally didn't save it. I accidentally clicked out of the site that I record on Audacity, so that was very painful. So we're not going to be doing as much as I had hoped for today's episode, but nonetheless, I do have a lot of fun stuff. Of course, kicking things off, we have some new UFC fights to talk about and some new UFC news, which we're going to open with as well. I have a movie review, that is right. We watched Fight Club. Anyone ever seen Fight Club? I'm going to give you a full rundown on that. And as well, we have a recap of UFC Baku, which I just watched yesterday. And as opposed to recording right after it came out, I've kind of given it now at least like 24 hours, just about, probably a bit less. So we're going to go through the entire card and talk about what is next for each and every one of the fighters. But guys, thank you for all the support, all those who listen and all those who encourage me. You're the only reason I can keep doing this. Well, to an extent, I kind of started this on my own without any support, and I've kind of done it without any support. But nonetheless, I absolutely love all of my listeners. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right on into it. But first off, I think the biggest thing going on in the UFC sphere, and that is the fact Jon Jones is officially retired. That is correct. Watch the UFC rankings page for an update Tuesday when they kick Jon Jones out of the pound for pound and the championship spot. And yes, according to Dana White, Tom Aspinall is the new official heavyweight champion. Not interim, no, the undisputed champion. And honestly, this just sucks. This feels like the Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler situation. You know, Conor McGregor strings us along for so long, I might come back, then it's like, yo, I'm not. And that's kind of what's happened with Jon Jones, and he's had almost a 900-day reign as heavyweight champion, one title defense. One title defenses, wins over Shogun, and Stipe Miocic just will probably not age well for a while. So it's unfortunate for Tom Aspinall, but someone was bringing up that if Francis Ngannou were to come back, Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall would be a massive heavyweight fight, and I could definitely get behind that, but I just don't see Francis Ngannou ever fixing his relationship with the UFC. I think that is unfortunately tarnished, so that's something we can probably axe off. But when we talk about some of the heavyweight fights on today's UFC Baku card that we're reviewing, I'm going to give some ideas on who Tom Aspinall's first title defense could be at when we get to the Curtis Blades Van Kuniev recap, so we'll stay tuned for that. But we do have a plethora of new UFC fights to discuss with you all. Kicking us off, Sergey Pavlovich taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. That's right, the number 4 and number 7 heavyweights in the world. If you want to see Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall 2, this is how you get there. And Sergey needs to come out and get a knockout over Waldo Cortez Acosta. You're in China. You're close to Russia. You are the home crowd favorite, in my opinion, compared to Waldo Cortez Acosta, who I believe is from Cuba, or might even be Panama? Where's he from? The Dominican Republic. Yes, that's where he is. The Dominican Republic. So, Waldo Cortez Acosta, of course, has somehow found his way up into the top 10. He's ranked number 7. Makes no sense to me. But I've always brought up the point that the top 6 heavyweights in the UFC can beat the other 40 on the roster pretty handsomely. So, if Waldo Cortez Acosta can pull off an upset, which I could see him easily doing, that would be crazy. He'd be ranked number 4 in the world. But if Sergey Pavlovich can get back to his knockout ways, I think he should be sitting pretty. That'll be definitely the third or second fight on that UFC Shanghai card in terms of main event downwards. Another matchup announced, this one for UFC Abu Dhabi, July 26th, welterweight action, as Muslim Salikhov will be taking on Carlos the Lion Leo. Carlos Leo came into the UFC, tough defeat to Renat Fakhretdinov. A lot of people thought he won. Follows it up with a round 1 knockout of Alex Morono. Absolutely beautiful. Now he's taking on a guy in Muslim Salikhov. Winner of this will probably be one step closer to a ranked opponent. I'm thinking for Carlos Leo versus Muslim Salikhov, winner takes on Michael Chiesa. I would absolutely love that. Or winner takes on Vicente Luque. I think there's a lot of options you can do with this. But I'll definitely be rooting for Carlos Leo in this one. But don't count out Muslim Salikhov. He may be past 40, but that boy still packs knockout power. Here's one for UFC Noche UFC in San Antonio, Texas, September 13th. No idea if it's a fight night or a pay-per-view yet. I still don't think the UFC knows, but lightweight division, Jared Flash Gordon back as he takes on gifted Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia probably peaked with that Clay Guida win. I would have to say the Clay Guida win was probably the peak of his career, and that was 2 years ago now. And as for Jared Gordon, he just knocked out Thiago Moises, and I was counting him out in that fight. So Jared Gordon, he's 36. He's still getting it done. Dude is an absolute legend. And as for Rafa Garcia, no, he turns 31 this August. This is the year to kind of dial it in, get serious about making a run up the rankings. And whoever wins this, I think is going to be one fight away from a ranked opponent. Winner of this can take on your Drew Dobers, your Grant Dawsons, your, we'll talk about him, Ignacio Bahamondes, guys like that. Those are the type of people that the winner of this can be set up against. So that should be one to keep your eyes on. We'll probably be on the prelims of that event. UFC 317, which does go down in 6 days. I am very perplexed. We're still making fights, but Cedric Dumas takes on Jackson McVeigh in the men's middleweight division. Jackson McVeigh, I'm so sorry for that. Jackson the Moose McVeigh, 6-0. 6-0, biggest career wins over no one I know. Dude looks like a hillbilly. I kid you not. He looks like a thug. He looks like a druggie. I'm not trying to be mean, Jackson. I'm just observing the picture that I can see of you here on my screen. And as for Cedric Dumas, like a career criminal, I mean, this dude has more arrests than UFC fights. He's 3-3 in the UFC, and he's been arrested at least 7 times. So I have no idea how he's still in the UFC. Biggest win is over Cody Brundage. I'll have to do a bit more investigation on Jackson McVeigh, but as far as I'm concerned, Cedric Dumas might be getting a layup win here. And I have zero clue how he's still in the UFC. I'm actually so perplexed by it. He definitely has insides with the elites, let me tell you that. Another matchup announced for you. UFC Nashville, of course, July 12th. That UFC Nashville card's looking pretty fun. Looking like just one of those random cards with a crowd that is just filled with some fun fights. Mike Davis takes on Mitch Ramirez in the lightweight division. Mike Beast Boy Davis, Mitch the Fight Stalker Ramirez. Mitch lost his UFC debut, and as for Mike Davis, he's 4-2. Never really been able to get over the top level guys when he takes them on. But I think a win over Mitch Ramirez, this is kind of set up as a layup for Beast Boy Mike Davis, but never count out Mitch Ramirez. This dude fought on The Ultimate Fighter, if I'm not mistaken, and he packs a bit of a punch sometimes. But I'll probably ride with Mike Beast Boy Davis, getting a submission or a ground and pound knockout. 2 more fights for you. UFC Vegas 109 on August 9th has a featherweight bout between Andre Touchy-Feely and Christian C-Rod Rodriguez. Andre Feely and Christian Rodriguez. Andre Feely just can't catch a break. This dude just keeps getting finished or losing fight of the night decisions. I mean, I could not with Andre Feely. He has just had, 24, 23 UFC fights, and his ceiling is Bill Algeo, Cub Swanson. All right, I kid you not. But Andre Feely, I'd love to see him in EA Sports UFC. I think he would be deserved to be put in the video game. That would be, I think, a highlight of his career. And as for Christian Rodriguez, call him the Prospect Killer. C-Rod is a terrible, terrible name. Prospect Killer should be his nickname. This guy has beaten Austin Bashi, Raul Rosas Jr., Isaac Dalgarian. He was actually the first man, if I'm not mistaken, to beat Cameron Stamen. I mean, this dude beats all the undefeated guys. It makes absolutely no sense. And mind you, his 3 UFC losses are to like Melquiz Acosta. They're to like Julian Erosa. He loses to like Jim Millers, if you will. He loses to stable guys, but anyone who's undefeated rising up, he beats. So this will be a big test here. I love the matchmaking at featherweight because you're really going to get a grasp here of his Christian Rodriguez can get over someone who's not an undefeated prospect, and if Andre Feely can get back in the win category. So that's great matchmaking there. Love that fight. And the final one that we've had announced, this one also for UFC Shanghai, joining Sergey and Waldo, August 23rd. Flyweight division as the Tabishan Eagles, Sumadarji gets a hometown China fight as he takes on Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas 1-2 in the UFC fights out of Peru. Picked up a massive win over Ronaldo Rodriguez, a fight he was not supposed to win. He was set up to be crushed in, and instead he pulled off the upset, which I love to see. As for Sumadarji, this dude has had 8 UFC fights, and I swear he's always in the mix. He'll beat Mitch Raposo, Malcolm Gordon. He'll lose to, I can't remember his name. Because y'all remember that July, I think it was 2022 card. he took Matt Schnell. When he almost knocked out Matt Schnell, and then got submitted by Matt Schnell. Absolutely crazy. So I'll be rooting for Sumadarji in that one, but I might have to assess my picks once we get into that August territory, because Kevin Borjas is not to be counted out. So those are all your new UFC news. A lot of exciting stuff, and let me just tell you, the future looks bright in terms of UFC fandom. I'll tell you what else is bright. That is the future in watching movies, watching TV, because you can watch any movie you want on any streaming service anywhere you want. My buddy Ryan the other night was like, hey, Zach, do you want to watch this movie? I watched it last night and I want to watch it again. I was like, what movie is it? And he's like, it's Fight Club. And I'm like, you know what? It's been a long time coming. Let's watch this movie. So I did finally get around to watching Fight Club, starring Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. Actually also has Jared Leto, a young Jared Leto, and Holt McCallany. If no one knows who Holt McCallany is, he's one of the leads from Mindhunter, one of my favorite films. He's a minor role in the film, but the two main guys are Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. So the entire premise of this movie, guys, is that Edward Norton is an insomniac. He's working just a dead-end corporate job, and then he meets this guy, Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, who kind of just changes his perspective of life. He's very loose. He is like philosophical. He's all about meaning, and eventually they come to form a fight club, and these fight clubs actually spring up all over the country, and it kind of takes you through the journey on how Tyler Durden and Edward Norton's characters. Edward Norton is just called the narrator in the film. He's never actually has like a real name, comedically enough. And it takes you through their journey of just these two guys who meet each other to something even bigger, leading revolutions. Now, I won't explain the big plot twist here, because the plot twist I think is essential to watching the film. But I just say, when I saw the plot twist, it made sense, but it was also kind of just like, I can think of so many scenes where I don't know how it worked. So I will say, Fight Club, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. You know, it was a very weird movie. Like, throughout the whole movie, I'm just questioning, where's this going? And then it ends, and I'm like, ooh, so that was the climax. That's what we were building up to? I don't know. It was just such a weird movie. IMDb has it 8.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has it 81%. Just about almost certified fresh, almost. And Chuck Palahniuk, the author of the book, you know, I listened to his episode with Joe Rogan. He is a very interesting guy. So knowing kind of the mindset of the guy who wrote this, it kind of gives you a bit more background knowledge. But I mean, it's all right. It's all right. I will say the CGI I really like, especially being for 1999. I like the themes they talk about here. They certainly talk about materialism and how everything shouldn't be about owning things. It shouldn't be about how nice something is, because that just doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It also kind of talks about mental illness, you know, kind of dealing with insomnia, which is an actual condition, and how this man can't sleep. And he's like, someone needs to help me. And the doctor's like, there's nothing I can give you. You just need to sleep. So it's just very, very fascinating, and you have some weird characters in this. Let me just tell you, and one of the things that they do is with this Fight Club is it kind of brings in all these rejects, all these people that don't know their place in life, and quite honestly, like a Fight Club, it's literally all these dudes gather in the basement of a bar, and they just fight. They just fight each other, and it is gory, it is bloody, and it is good. It is really good. And you also see the kind of the changing character of Edward Norton's guy from this uppity guy. You know, he's very, trying to think, schedule-based. He's very schedule-based. Stays in his lane, rudimentary. And then he meets Tyler Durden, and he becomes this let-loose guy, and they live in this crappy house, and they're going out and just being reckless. And it is really an experience. I'll say watching this movie is pretty much an experience. I'm pretty sure they made a second Fight Club, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it was they made they wrote a book, Fight Club 2. But Fight Club, the movie, also stars Helena Bonham Carter. She plays a love interest, if you will, in the film, which you never really know if she's a love interest. Man, very, very weird. Ooh, let's look on Google questions. Why was Fight Club so controversial? Cultural critics Henry and Imrie describe Fight Club as a failed critique which focuses on the consumerist culture and how it shapes male identity and ignores how neoliberal capitalism has dominated and exploited society. This is a very male-focused movie and talking about how men can struggle without anyone really noticing. But I have no idea about neoliberal capitalism. What in the world is what even is that? What even is that? Why was Fight Club banned in China? The Chinese government altered the ending of Fight Club to comply with the country's strict censorship policies. Interesting. Well, yeah, not really I mean, I suppose telling you something that happens at the end of the movie, isn't too big of a spoiler, but at the end of the film, they do blow up a bunch of credit card, towers. I kid you, company towers, and I don't know if that's seen as, something bad. It was super random. The entire premise was they're blowing up these credit card companies to eliminate debt so that everyone goes back to the same level. I don't know. It's such a weird premise. But yes, Fight Club, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I can acknowledge it is a cult classic, but certainly I think one-time viewing is enough for me in terms of watching Fight Club. But ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any more time. It's episode 200, and we're all about UFC on the podcast, surprising you every single day, jabbing you every single day. So let's get into our UFC Baku recap, because it was certainly very interesting. Kicking off the card, we headed to the men's heavyweight division as Muhammad Usman took on Hamdi Abdel Wahab, and Muhammad got it done. That is right, we correctly predicted Muhammad would get it done. Now, in the fashion of how this fight transpired, I mean, Hamdi came out looking strong. Round one, 16 significant strikes to 9, was chopping up Usman with the leg kicks. I truly thought Usman was going to go down on the leg kicks, especially with the first one he landed, the first shot of the fight. Oh my goodness, Muhammad's legs were just absolutely brutalized. Then round 2, you start to see Hamdi fade a bit. Muhammad's landed a bit more power shots, outstrikes him 29-21 significantly. You start to see a change. Round 3, Hamdi is completely faded. Muhammad Usman, 48 significant strikes to 18, outstrikes him by 30, and he gets himself a little decision victory. That's right, 86 significant strikes to 55. Muhammad Usman snaps his 2-fight losing streak and is back in the winning category. Good for him. Good for Muhammad Usman, getting it done. You never know what you're going to get with this guy. You never know what you're going to get. And there were times I felt the knockout power was there. He clipped Hamdi at least 1, 2, maybe 3 times where it was if Hamdi didn't have a strong chin, he'd have been knocked out cold. But other than that, I don't know. Muhammad Usman I don't know if he has the tools to climb the heavyweight division. I think if we're going to give him someone ranked, because right now it's so easy to get a ranked opponent, he's going to need to beat someone on Ryan Spann's level, on Justin Tafa's level, someone like those types of guys. So I'll be curious to see what happens with Muhammad Usman. As for Hamdi Abdel Wahab, look, he's lost his first ever professional fight. He's 6-1 with a no contest. Dude, he's 1-1 with a no contest in the UFC now. He has just had some of the most lackluster fights. They might give him one more opportunity. There's guys like Ryan Spann out there who just fought Walter Cortez Acosta. I don't know if he's serious about staying up there. I even think someone like Tai Tuivasa, a pick-me-up fight, I think that would be a great option for him. But we'll have to see, because right now heavyweight division's pretty dead, and this fight was kind of boring overall. Now I'll tell you in a very exciting fight, because by the way, only 2 finishes on this entire card. It was a very long card. I can't even lie. We did go 8-4 on predictions, so on the year 167-84. Yeah, we are chopping it up on predictions. I mean, absolutely incredible work. But yeah, just another card. This in UFC Atlanta, oh my goodness. Actually, on UFC Atlanta, how many finishes did we have? It was none. We had 1, 2, 3. We had 3. That was it. So we've just been dying to get some finishes, and this card only produced 2. But we'll talk about those later on. Because flyweight division, Tagir Limbekov, Ozlek Maksum, this fight was pretty good. It delivered. I will say that handsomely. Tagir remains ranked at number 12. I don't know if they're going to bump him up with this, but certainly he'll be fighting upwards with a victory of this standing. And Ozlek Maksum, he clearly belongs. I know people were saying that he needs to fight lower level guys after this, but no. The 30-27, 30-27, 20-28, people were mad about that. People were saying Ozlek Maksum was robbed. I had it 30-27 for Tagir Limbekov in a close fight. Every round was close, but I gave every single round to Tagir Ulanbekov. 68 significant strikes to 62 in favor of Tagir. Tagir goes 0 of 8 on takedowns, 3 minutes 42 seconds control time. Azmat goes 3 of 7 on takedowns, 56 seconds of control time. So in the wrestling exchanges, Azat would land takedowns, but Tagir would always reverse them back. And these two on the feet, I mean, let me just tell you, throwing at it with each other. These two were eating some shots. They're both two technical guys that match up so well. I would love to see them rematch longer down the line. But as for Tagir Bekov, 4-fight winning streak now. He's 6-1 in the UFC. Let's give him a top 10 guy. We got a couple options. Suam Babayev is taking on Ramazan Temariov. Winner of that. Steve versus Alex Perez, winner or loser of that, I'll say. And as for Manel Cape, I think he's fallen into a territory where he's going to have to fight down. So you're going to get a lot of fun options with Tigran Baku, and I'm excited to see what they do with him. As for Isaac Maxum, you got your Jose Ochoas, you got your Loner Kavanagh, your Andre Limas. If you want to keep him in the rankings, Bruno Silva, I think would be a fun fight. Winner or loser of Kai Sakura and Tim Elliott, I would love to see Isaac Maxum remain a contender in the rank competition because he clearly belongs. And 15-2, his losses are a unanimous decision fight the night Charles Johnson, which some people thought he won, and a close decision against Tigran Baku, which some people thought he won. So let's not hold his 2 decisions against him. This guy is very, very talented. And by the way, not old, still in his 20s, still kicking it. We'll see if Tigran Baku and Isaac run it back down the line. After that, double back-to-back women's bantamweight matchups, and I'm going to keep it simple here, guys. I'm just matching up the winners with each other in this one. Claudia Segula versus Irina Alekseeva, and Daria Zlinikova versus Melissa Mullins. Now, we miss on the Melissa Mullins prediction, but nail the Claudia Segula prediction, which I was ever so happy about. I was thrilled. I'm trying to think how much of an underdog she was. Claudia was plus 185, so that's not too bad to nail. I don't think that's too bad to nail, but Claudia Segula dominates Irina Alekseeva in their matchup, and Irina Alekseeva, I think, needs to be cut. I mean, she is now 1-2 in the UFC, losses to Melissa Mullins, and Claudia Segula left little to be desired. If you do keep her, I mean, I would say I don't even know. I don't even know. She just doesn't seem like she's UFC caliber, and I didn't even think Claudia Segula was, but she clearly proved that she belongs. So Claudia Segula dominates her on the feet, dominates her on the ground, 101 significant strikes to 63. What if I were to tell you that Claudia Segula landed the second most significant strikes on the entire card, behind Khalil Roundtree? That's utterly insane. But Irina Alekseeva, bye-bye to you unless you want to rematch Melissa Mullins. I don't know, but yeah. Little to be loved from Irina Alekseeva. But Claudia Segula, good work from making Poland proud, getting your first UFC win. I think you match up well with the next woman here in the next bout that took place, Daria Zlinikova. Daria Zlinikova now 2-1 in the UFC, only losses to the 7th-ranked Aileen Perez. That loss has aged super well. And beat Melissa Mullins here was very good. Now, I will say, she almost knocked down Melissa in the first 30 seconds of the fight. She emptied the tank on her. Holy cow, it was absolutely crazy. 44 significant strikes at 26. And the tale of this entire fight was Daria wins like the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then Melissa Mullins ends every single round on top, which was kind of weird from a judging standpoint. But yeah, landed 3 of 6 takedowns, but just on the feet, Daria was chopping her up, keeping her in the clinch, and was able to get it done. Melissa Mullins now 2-2 in the UFC. She'll definitely remain. I don't know against who, I think Jocelyn Edwards has a fight that she's maybe coming up against someone, if I can't really remember. She's ranked, what is Jocelyn at right now? She's 14. You can match her up with maybe Chelsea Chandler. I have no idea how Chelsea Chandler's still in the rankings at 15. And if you wanted to give Daria a shot against, what's her name? Chelsea Chandler. Yes, you could do that as well. But I think Daria and Claudia matching them up, putting one of them will be on, whoever wins that will be on a 2-fight winning streak. That's what you should do. And as for Melissa Mullins, she's already beaten Irina Alekseeva. So if you do want to run that back, you could. But women's bantamweight division, yeah, kind of dead. After that, men's middleweight action as the Iron Turtle June Young Park takes on Ismail Nuradiv. And this was a wonky, weird fight. Let me tell you that. This was a weird fight. So, for starters, Ismail Nuradiv is pouring it on June Young Park. 52 significant strikes to 26. He dominated him in round number 1. But June Young Park was firing back. It wasn't necessarily a bad loss, but he did lose round number 1. Okay, Ismail had him. Round 2, June Young Park finds himself on the ground, and he has a knee and a hand on the mat, and Ismail hits him with an illegal knee. Ref steps in, Ismail starts celebrating like he won, and yeah, the ref is like, no, this is an illegal knee. There's a nasty cut on June Young Park's eye, and he definitely could have stopped. June Young Park could have stopped right there, right then, but he didn't. He had also been dealing with some eye pokes from Ismail Nuradiv. It had been sloppy. So, what instead happens? June Young Park proceeds to continue to fight. The ref takes 2 points from Ismail Nuradiv. Insane. I've only seen 2 points be taken twice, apparently. I had to literally look on Twitter and be like, I've actually seen those fights where it's taken, but I couldn't remember an instance where 2 points have been taken in a UFC fight. Following that, Jun Young Park would dominate the rest of the round. He would win that round, but every single judge would score round 2 for Ishmael Dirty. It was insane. Looking on verdict, I'm like, am I crazy that I'm the only one who thought Jun Young Park won round 2? Thankfully, he did. Round 3, Jun Young Park 10-8. 10-8 round, takes him down, tries to submit him, 4.5 minutes of control time, domination from Jun Young Park. And he gets the 29-26, 29-26, and 29-25 decision victory. 29-25 got to be the weirdest scorecard I've seen in a long time. I've seen 30-25s, but a 29-25? I don't even know. And if you hadn't even given Ishmael Nuradi round 2, I mean, you gotten a 29-24, which would have been pretty awesome. So, thankfully, Jun Young Park gets this one done. The Iron Turtle remains victorious. 2-fight winning streak now for him. And in terms of his UFC tenure, I mean, this dude is now sitting at 9-3 in the UFC. Losses to Anthony Hernandez, Gregory Rodriguez, and Andre Munoz. And now a little 2-fight win streak. I mean, Jun Young Park, I'm ready to look up. I'm ready to look up for Jun Young Park. And, you know, in terms of ranked middleweights, I would say Paulo Costa, Roman Kopilov, the loser of that. I'd say if Rainer Day Ritter loses to Robert Whittaker, you can make that fight. People were saying maybe the loser of Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen. I don't know. And I think the winner of Jack Hermanson and Greg Rodriguez versus Jun Young Park, especially if it's Jack Hermanson, I like all those options for Park. I think those are all very good options. As for Ishmael Nuradi, brutal performance here, buddy. Brutal performance. This is return now 1-1, but yeah. Yeah, you cannot be doing that, my man. You cannot be doing that if you're Ishmael Nuradi. But thankfully, I have a next matchup to make for Ishmael Nuradi. Then you have Cedric Dumas taking on this Jackson McVeigh guy next weekend at UFC 317. How about the winner of that takes on Ishmael Nuradi? Look at that. We're matchmaking on the go. I absolutely love that. So Ishmael Nuradi can take on the winner of that. And as for Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle, he remains victorious. After that, we got into our final prelim of the evening, and this was my second misprediction of the evening. And you know, I should have known that being a plus 600 underdog was just too good to be true with Seokyoung Ko, the Korean Tyson, as he grapples himself to a victory against Oban, the Welsh gangster Elliott. 30-27s across the board, including 10 minutes, 15 seconds of control time. Yikes. Yeah, this one was a doozy. Seokyoung Ko, 6 of 9 on takedowns, 33 significant strikes to 10, 80 total strikes to 19. Oban had no answer for the grappling. Quite honestly, no answer. 2 takedowns in round 1, 2 takedowns in round 2, and make that 2 takedowns in round 3. He did what he had to do. Oban, 4 significant strikes round 1, 3-2, and 3-3. Just rough. Just rough for Oban Elliott. And as for Seokyoung Ko, I mean, this guy, 12-2 now. His winning streak, if I can check my notes, is now at 8-fight winning streak. Wow. Good stuff. It's a 5-fight win streak. Good, same thing. 5-8, same thing for Seokyoung Ko. But yeah, for being the Korean Tyson, he turned into the Korean Marab tonight. I think that's what everyone was saying. Good stuff for Seokyoung Ko. Getting a win in the welterweight division is what you need to do. And as for Oban Elliott, his 8-fight, okay, that's why I was thinking of 8-fight win streak. His 8-fight win streak is snapped. But you know, you run into these types of opportunities where you lose and you just need to find ways to get back. So what's next for both these guys? Oban Elliott will probably take on someone unranked in the welterweight division. There is a plethora of options out there. I know Jacoby Smith is taking on Nico Price. Maybe the winner of that you could do. Phil Rowe just lost last week, and I think Phil Rowe matches up great with the winner or loser of each of those. Michael Chiesa is a name you could throw around in the barrel of guys you could take on. There is just so many. So many. You know, Vicente Luque, I really like for maybe Seokyoung Ko. And as for Oban, I mean, Andreas Gustafsson, that's a name we saw last week. And even Chaos Williamson could run that back with Oban. But yeah, there's just so many guys both of them could take on. But yeah, just kind of an exciting fight whatsoever. And then we got into thankfully the final fight before we actually had back-to-back entertaining fights, because I kid you not, I was getting drained, and I could tell the UFC Baku card was getting drained as Muhammad Naimov took on Bogdan Grad. Now, I did score this for Bogdan Grad, but I can understand how Muhammad Naimov won this contest. Muhammad wins the 29-28, 29-28, 29-28 unanimous decision. But it was more of like a split decision, in my opinion. Totals from the fight, 31 significant strikes for Bogdan, 18 for Muhammad Naimov. Total strikes, 70 for Naimov, 49 for Bogdan. Muhammad goes 1 of 3 on takedowns for 2 minutes, 53 seconds. Bogdan, 3 of 10 on takedowns for 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Round 1, Bogdan takes it. it, lands a takedown, gets the better of Naimov, gets it done. Round 2, I thought Bogdan had it. I really did, but I guess not. I guess Bogdan didn't have it, or maybe they scored round 1 for Naimov. And then round 3 was honestly a 50-50 round. I mean, on the verdict scorecard, it was separated by decimal points, and Bogdan Grad doesn't get it. They give it to Muhammad Naimov. So, unfortunate stuff for Bogdan Grad, snapping his little winning streak, but this dude can clearly hang in the featherweight division. I'll say that for certain. He'll certainly be back. And as for Muhammad Naimov, little 2-fight winning streak now. His only UFC loss is to Felipe Lima, who's now opening the International Fight Week pay-per-view card against Peyton Talbot. I mean, what? Why are we doing that? Why is Greg Rodriguez versus Jack Hermanson not on the main card? But yeah, 2-fight win streak for Muhammad Naimov, and Bogdan Grad suffers his first UFC defeat. But yeah, very technical, very back and forth, and Muhammad Naimov and Bogdan Grad, both from, not really like necessarily from the region, but to an extent from the region. I don't know in terms of featherweight who I would like to see them take on. I mean, it's tricky because there's so many unranked featherweights. Neither of these guys are going near the rankings for the foreseeable future. But if I could just poke around some past cards of people who have fought as of late, because that's how I've been recently doing it. Melquizael Costa versus Muhammad Naimov, I could get behind. Julian Erosa versus Bogdan Grad, that could be fun. Yider Deval, who debuted against Connor Matthews earlier this year, against either of these guys, I could get behind. Who are some other guys? I'll throw out some other names for you guys to keep aware of who these two could take. But no ranked opponents for now. Patricio Pitbull Danige, the loser of one of those, maybe. Sean Woodson could be a name you see Muhammad Naimov taking on. I don't know. There's a lot of options. But yes, this fight happened. This fight was over. And sadly, oh my gosh, I actually was really happy because this was another prediction we missed on. I was really thinking Bogdan Grad at plus 200 was going to cash. But he didn't. He loses a close unanimous decision, but I wasn't mad about it. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we got to the highlight of the night. I knew this was going to be good. I could tell it was going to be good, but I just never thought it was going to be this good. Nazim Sadikov, the Black Wolf, and Iron Nicholas Mota give us not just an amazing knockout, not just one of the greatest fights of the year, but one of the greatest fights I have seen in all time. One of the greatest 2-rounders of all time. I mean, wow. Wow, these two went to absolute war with one another. Absolute war. This was insane. Nazim Sadikov gets the fight of the night and performance of the night bonuses. Give Nicholas Mota that extra $50K. This made me my runner for fight of the year. This was insane. So to open the fight, these two striking with each other. Then Mota starts putting the pressure on him. I mean, it was absolutely wild. You're watching like Nazim Sadikov is going to get knocked out. And then, I kid you not, Michael Bisping got the official numbers. A 75-strike punch combo from Nicholas Mota, who drops Nazim Sadikov just about multiple times, has him just up against the fences, laid into them. The ref is about to jump in. Nazim is grabbing onto his foot to hang in. Then Nazim shoves him off him, hits him with a punch, hits him with an elbow, hits him with an up kick, fights his way back. He's then putting the pressure on Nicholas Mota. Round 1, one of the best rounds of 2025. You could even say one of the best rounds of all time. We head to round 2. The momentum is swinging. Nazim Sadikov is opening combos left, right, and center. And he's clipping him. Then he's coming back and he's clipping him. And then eventually, these were just gushing blood. It is absolutely wild. And then Nazim has him up against the cage, hitting him with body shots, then an uppercut. And then he's just laying into him. And Nazim Sadikov gets the knockout victory. Make it his 8th career knockout. Oh my goodness. This might have me going crazy in my living room. Oh my goodness. This was the highlight. I sat through all of those decisions just for this glorious, glorious fight. And totals from the fight, knockdown for each of these guys. 102 total strikes for Nazim, 76 for Nicholas Mota. Oh my goodness, just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Nazim Sadikov making an 11-fight winning streak now, 12-fight unbeaten streak. And yes, he is now 4-0 and 1. He has 1 draw in the UFC. And by the way, fight of the night. This dude is so far 5 for 5 on UFC fights. Even his Dana White's Contender Series performance, amazing. And yeah, with that, we can look upwards. We can look upwards to the rankings. He has Merab and Aljamain Sterling in his corner. This dude's an absolute dog. You have Grant Dawson at 14. You got Benoit Saint Denis at 13. Joel Alvarez is in there at 15. Yeah, get this guy a ranked opponent, for goodness sakes. This dude is straight money, and he is an Azerbaijan native, and he had the crowd going ballistic. It was scenes in Baku. This was the highlight of the entire weekend. I kid you not. Nazim Sadikov, Nicholas Mota going to war. So yeah, for Nazim, give him someone in the bottom 15. I know we're going to mention Ignacio Mohamedez. He's a guy you could maybe take on, but I'd really love to see him get an actual someone with a ranked number next to them. As for Nicholas Mota, look, I've always counted Nicholas Mota out since watching him get knocked out by Manuel Torres and Jim Miller. But honestly, since 2024, he's now 2-1. His only loss is this fight of the night, performance of the night against Nazim Sadikov. I mean, I would not be too mad about this. They're definitely going to bring Nicholas Mota back. Lots to do at lightweight. And I honestly think you could give this guy a tough opponent next. You really could give him a tough opponent. Maybe a Daniel Zaluber, a Esteban Ribovics. I will even go as far to say Ignacio Mohamedez, who we're going to mention in a second. I think there are options to be had with Nicholas Mota, but Nicholas Mota clearly belongs in the UFC, and I feel if we were to release him, he would go off and just dominate some ever promotion that he's in. But yeah, good stuff from Nazim Sadikov and Nicholas Mota. And while I'm actually thinking of it, speaking of other promotions, I watched the PFL on Friday, their championship. By the way, a lot of boring fights. The main event, watching from, was it Gadzi Rama, whatever his name, Nurmagomedov, whatever, he had freaking Khabib in his corner or something. Dagestani, watching him fight, he did actually have Khabib, but watching him just absolutely destroy Kevin Lee was hilarious. I mean, Kevin Lee dropped 3+ times in round number 1 before getting knocked out. I mean, oh my goodness, Kevin Lee just ain't got it no more. And it was just comedic to watch. I'm so sorry. But yeah, watch that. Actually placed top in the world on the prelim predictions. I actually know PFL ball if you didn't know. So we'll look for my predictions there if you're ever on Verdict. But after that, Maitabek Oralbai, Tofik Musayev. Oralbai gets his 6th career submission and his 12th career finish out of 14 wins. He improves to 3-1 in the UFC. Now, I was very happy that Maitabek got this one done, but this was a last-second change to 165 because Maitabek couldn't make 155. So Tofik Musayev did have to debut against a guy who naturally was coming in heavier, and Maitabek used that to his advantage. 3 of 5 on takedowns. Fight lasted 4.5 minutes. 3 and 7/5 of this round. 3 minutes 45 seconds was Maitabek in control time. So it wasn't even a full minute of this fight that Maitabek wasn't in control, and just absolutely took him down, ragdoll him, and hit him with a Kimura with about 25 seconds left. So good win for Maitabek. It was hype watching. Then when I learned he missed weight by that much, yeah, that needs to be something you change. So if Maitabek is to remain at lightweight, he will need to make weight in his next bout, if you will. But if he does want to switch it up and move to welterweight, I think that could be a career move that he can make as well. And I would love to see, could throw him right in the mix. Honestly, at welterweight, there's good unranked guys. Even Buckley, Joaquin Buckley versus. Actually, no, because I watched the fight against Bertus Rebecca, and that was naturally at 155. So Maitabek, it'll be tricky to see what they do with him. But if Joel Alvarez does fight Benoit Saint Denis, the loser of that versus him, or even he can fight either of those guys right now. But Maitabek is a legit guy. As for Tofik Musayev, snaps his little winning streak. 35 years old, debuting, lost. I say they bring him back. I'm saying it doesn't hurt to bring him back. 155. You could have Tofik take on Nicholas Mota, for goodness sake. You could have Tofik take on Drew Dober, Manuel Torres. I don't know. Let's give Tofik one last shot in the UFC. But losing in front of your home nation of Azerbaijan like that, kind of unfortunate. But I nailed the prediction, so I wasn't too mad. After that, heavyweight action, and this is where we'll get into our Tom Aspinall talk. But Curtis Blades takes on Rizvan Kuniev. And I'm going to say, for starters, is that, yes, this went to a split decision, but this just kind of showed that maybe Curtis Blades doesn't have what he used to, as he goes 2 of 15 on takedowns, does outstrike Rizvan significantly, 56-45, total strikes 101-58. He gets it done. But round 1, Curtis, 2 of 9 on takedowns, 3 minutes control time, dominates Rizvan Kuniev. Round 2, Rizvan keeps on the feet, 24 significant strikes to 16, doesn't get taken down, does what he needs to. Then round 3, Curtis holds him up against the cage, drowns him in punches, 61 total strikes to 19, significantly 28 to 13. Rizvan just couldn't hang. Split decision goes to Curtis Blades. Should have been, I don't even know who scored. Who was it? Was it Ben Cartledge? It was Ben Cartledge who gave round number 3 to Rizvan Kuniev. Shouldn't have given it to him, but oh well. Curtis Blades gets back into the win category. What if I tell you his last win was March 2024? Crazy to think about, but yes, Curtis, he'll remain ranked at number 5 in the men's heavyweight division, and he was mentioning his goal is to get back to a title shot, and yes, he will actually, with John Jones getting booted, this is actually crazy. You're actually going to have someone debut in the men's rankings, and I think it should be Rizvan Kuniev, maybe down at 15 or something, but yeah, I just realized if they're booting John Jones, Aspinall will move up to champion, Cyril Gahn to 1, Volkov to 2, Pavlich to 3, Blades will be ranked number 4, Holt Lomane to 5, yeah. Which means Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to be ranked number 6. That's utterly ridiculous. But Rizvan Kuniev can clearly hang with these heavyweights. And if we were to put Rizvan against Muhammad Usman, Abdi Abdul-Wahab, I think he would handsomely beat them. But yeah, Rizvan gets his little 10-fight winning streak, whatever, 11-fight winning streak snapped, but not too bad. Took Curtis Blades to a boring split decision, showed you can hang in there, showed great takedown defense, 13 takedowns defended. That's pretty freaking good. So what do we do next with these guys? You know, if it's Curtis Blades, I just have to look. He called out Cyril Gahn, and I really like that, but I just think Cyril Gahn is the perfect first opponent for Tom Aspinall. So I'm saying after that fight happens, Curtis Blades can take on the loser, which is probably going to be Cyril Gahn, because right now heavyweight is in a bit of a pickle. So we can matchmake Waldo Cortez Acosta with Sergey Pavlich. That's booked. Now, Alexander Volkov and Holt Lomane both need opponents. I think you have to match them up. And Curtis Blades, sadly, will not be making that Chicago card in August. He did take some damage. He's looking to return September, October. So if you did want to run him versus Gahn, I think you should. But the UFC is meeting with Tom Aspinall next week, and they are going to figure out who his next opponent is. As for Rizvan Kuniev, going to be honest, the 7 through 15, book him against any of them. Book Rizvan Kuniev against any of these guys. You know, honestly, if you want to give him a good opponent right off the bat, Martin Buday, Rizvan Kuniev. You could even go Mick Parkin at 13. But Rizvan Kuniev clearly has some skill. I just think Curtis Blades had way more experience and was able to weather the storm. But yeah, not the most entertaining fight. Co-main event, lightweight division, and yet again a doozy of a fight. But the number 11, Rafael Fiziev, shocks me as he beats Ignacio Bahamondes. 30-27s across the board. And he even goes 4 of 4 on takedowns, shockingly. Round 1, Rafael just barely outstrikes him. Round 2, Ignacio was actually outstriking him on the feet, so Rafael took him down twice. Round 3, Rafael's outstriking him on the feet, and a couple significant strikes for landed from landing takedowns. Yeah, Rafael just needed to get a victory, and he did. His first win in 3 frickin' years. So Rafael does what he needs to do and gets it done, but this was boring. This was just not exciting. I was doing like side chores while this was going on. I was like cleaning out my house, for goodness sakes. But yeah, I can do without this down the line rewatching this. But good win for Fiziev. You gotta do what you gotta do. It's not the exciting UFC fighting league. It's the Ultimate Fighting League, and sometimes you have to get the boring wins to remain relevant. As for Ignacio, 3-fight winning streak snapped. But yeah, he'll have other options down the line. I was saying Nicholas Mota could be someone. This dude can clearly hang with ranked lightweights. You could even give him the loser of Moicano and Dariush. You could do that for either of them. But as for Fiziev, I say you run back the Mateusz Gamrot fight. I would really love to see that. Both those guys healthy. Gamrot willingly saying, I'll fight down, and Fiziev and him having history from 2023. I say you do that. I say you run that one back. For Ignacio, I think Joel Alvarez and him, they're both tall lightweights. That could be a fun contest. Joel Alvarez is just someone always fun you can matchmake guys against. But Ignacio, tough loss. As for Rafael, kind of in front of a home crowd, if you will. Very good stuff. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the main event. And to make matters funny, a lot of the crowd left because the crowd came to watch some of their boys. Nazim Sadikov, Tofik Musayev, Rafael Fiziev. They could care less about Khalil Roundtree Jr. and Jamal Hill. And to be honest, I don't blame you. You would have missed nothing in this fight. Boring, bland, plain. The only reason this wasn't terrible is because Khalil almost knocked Jamal out in round 3 and because there was a crowd to deal with. But Khalil dominates Jamal every single round, gets better throughout the entire fight. 102 significant strikes to 69. Neither man attempts a takedown to no one's surprise. And round 5, they did unload a bit more, but yeah, nothing exciting. In terms of my current rankings for for main events of the year for fight nights, let me actually look right here because I have been keeping track just to keep a current ranking going. I think I have this as like my number 10. Mind you, there have been like 15 events, so it's not saying much, but this might have been a bit better than Brandon Moreno versus Steve Ursing, which isn't really saying too much. So I don't really know. This was just a doozy. It did show how freaking good Khalil Roundtree Jr. is. I mean, this dude's now going to be ranked number 4 in the world, and he's really thrown himself back into the title picture. And mind you, let's not act like this guy's now 6-1 in his last 7. Since 2021, he's 6-1. His only loss is to Alex Pereira in a Fight of the Year contender. Yeah, he's pretty freaking good. As for Jamal Hill, 3-fight losing streak, hasn't won since January 2023. Let's give him a pick-me-up. Let's not keep throwing Jamal Hill to the top guys in the world. Jamal's going to be bumped down to 5 or something, so I know what should be next. I say we do Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus one of the outliers here. Now, you got Jerry Prohaska, who I think you should just give the next title shot. I think Alex Pereira needs to move on. Now, if you do Alex Pereira versus Magomedov Ankalaev 2, Jerry needs to fight Carlos Ulberg. So then, what do you do with Khalil? I think Khalil could take on Jan Blachowicz, or he just waits. I was seeing people saying Dominic Reyes, but I would more love to see Jamal Hill versus Dominic Reyes as opposed to anything. The other option, opposed to that, Azamat Mirzakhanov. So there only are 2 guys who I'm going to throw names in the ring, and it's Azamat and Dominic to take on Jamal Hill. And as for Khalil, I would love to see Carlos Ulberg or Jan Blachowicz. That's what I think you should do there. It all depends what happens with Alex Pereira and Magomedov Ankalaev. But I think Alex Pereira needs to move on. And I think retiring off of that would be an excellent career option, but I don't make the decisions. I just simply observe them. So, yeah, that's what you can do. But UFC Baku, boring card. 1 cool fight of the night, 2 finishes. Yeah, that's all you're going to get. But we look past from UFC Baku. All right, out of there, go back to Azerbaijan after this football. Ahead, UFC 317, which, by the way, on UFC stats right now, I kid you not, only has 8 fights listed. I have no idea what's going on. I know they're going to have more than 8 fights, but as right now, you have to appear Charles Oliveira, praying those 2 can stay healthy in the main event. I don't even want to watch it because I love both of them so much. Co-main event, Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. Love that. Brandon Royval, Joshua Van, beautiful. Money Moicano back against Miller Ayush. That should be fun. Payne Talbot, Felipe Lima. 2 high bantamweight prospects. Only one can move upwards. Jack Hermansson, Gregory Rodriguez. Good fight for both of them. Vivian Araujo, Tracy Cortez. Decent prelim. And Hanada Diaz, Justin Tafa. Somebody better get knocked out in that one. But yes, everyone, that is your UFC Baku official recap. And that'll conclude episode 200. I'm actually down at college. I have a lot of stuff to move out. I gotta get back home. I gotta see my familia. That is what has to be done. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have an amazing week. Thank you all for the support. Episode 200. We'll be back for 300 in under a year or so. I can promise you that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.